This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 135, an interview with Mike Fishbein on how to grow your influence through guest blogging. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you attract and retain business through the power of quality content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is August 13th, 2015. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Just a reminder, the Content Marketing Podcast is live on iTunes and on Stitcher. So if you're listening to this episode on the blog, you can click on over and subscribe. And if you use a different app for your podcast listening pleasure, we also have an RSS feed, and I will provide that link in the blog post. Last week, we welcomed a very special guest, my friend and fellow podcaster Todd Henry, also known as The Accidental Creative, and he shared some nuggets of wisdom from his latest book, Louder Than Words, Harness the Power of Your Authentic Voice. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or on Stitcher or via the RSS feed. This week, we have another wonderful guest. My cup runneth over with wonderful interviewees. This week, we're talking to Mike Fishbein, who will share some of the secrets for growing your influence through guest blogging. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. Kicking off this week's news feed with some news out of Instagram. Instagram is dipping its toe into the advertising arena. We knew it was coming, didn't we? By announcing the Instagram Ads API Partners Program. Now, this is a limited program that's being launched to select partners, including Salesforce Marketing Cloud and brand networks. And Instagram Ads API partners will be able to perform tasks including scheduling and publishing content, monitoring audiences, and sharing access to Instagram accounts across teams. So lots of cool features for advertisers. Now, again, this is being launched to a very select group, but the company has shared that it will be available to all advertisers of all types by the end of this year, by the end of 2015. So let's keep an eye out for that from Instagram. Another announcement out of Facebook. Now, I have to say, whenever I see Facebook news come up in my feed, I kind of say, okay, is this going to be the Dr. Jekyll Facebook or the Mr. Hyde Facebook? Well, I'm happy to report that we have a Dr. Jekyll update this week. One of the shortcomings of Facebook pages has been inability to communicate with your followers on a one-on-one basis. And Facebook is remedying that by they will soon be allowing page admins to reply privately to public comments. So if, say, one of your followers goes to your page and comments on your page about, let's say, a customer service issue, you can immediately reply to that comment, but you can do a private reply rather than one that everyone that can see. And what it's going to look like is when you see that comment on your page, you will see like and reply, which are your options now. But soon you will also see a message option, which will be that private messaging option. So when you do that, only the original commenter will be able to see the content of your message, but there will be an icon that pops up that shows others that you did indeed respond to this person's issue, which of course is very important for our customer service cred. This messaging capability is not rolled out just yet, but it is coming, and I will keep you posted when it becomes available. More news out of Facebook. Now, with the growing popularity of Periscope and Meerkat, we all knew it was only a matter of time before Facebook jumped onto the streaming video bandwagon. Now, they are doing this in a very limited capacity. They are only rolling out this feature to public figures, so celebrities, athletes, people with huge followings. This new feature will allow select users to broadcast live video directly to Facebook. And on the user side, users will be able to discover these live videos from these public figures that they follow in their newsfeed. Again, this is just for celebrities right now, but we can all assume that if it goes well, it will be rolled out to all users at some point. So more goodies to look out for from our friends at Facebook. Okay, our content hit this week is called Why Your Content Plan Must Include Interactive Content. This is written by Julie Wingirter over on the Marketo blog. And, interactive content has become a huge buzzword in the content marketing world. And it really is what the name implies. It's content that incorporates engagement from the user. So the user is not just a passive reader or a passive listener, but the user is actually participating in the content. And this includes things like quizzes, assessments, calculators, things like that. And in this post, Julie goes into why interactive content is much more than a nice to have. There's actually data out there that shows how effective it is. And then she goes into why it belongs into the bigger picture of our content marketing strategies. So very good read, and I will provide a link to it in the blog post for this episode. Okay, that's it for this week's update. Of course, if you stumble across something you think would be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please shoot it on over to us so that we can share, and I'll be giving you that contact info at the end of the podcast. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment. Mike Fishbein will be joining us to share some secrets of growing your influence through guest blogging. Mike Fishbein is a content marketer, author, and entrepreneur. His writing has been published on sites like Entrepreneur, Business Insider, and the Huffington Post. Mike is also the author of the book Guest Blogging Masterclass, now available on Amazon.com, and he'll be sharing with us some of those nuggets in our interview today. So without further ado, here's our chat with Mike Fishbein about growing your influence through guest blogging. Hey, Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me, Rachel.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to have you talking about some guest blogging. So I just read your official bio. Can you give us a little bit more personal introduction to you and to what you do?
Sure. I guess I've always been interested in online business and marketing. I guess starting when I was much younger, doing like eBay businesses and some wholesaling online. After college, worked in finance for a bit, which is kind of a detour from my original interests. And then went to work at a startup where I got a lot of experience doing marketing, and that's where I started blogging on the side just for my own sort of personal branding. And that was my introduction to blogging about 4 years ago. And since then, it's turned into a real passion. I never thought it would. I didn't think I would be so interested in writing and content marketing, but it's been a really exciting journey.
Wonderful. So, Mike, what was it that first got you interested in guest blogging?
So I guess, when I first started blogging, like I said, when I was still working full-time, I would put a lot of effort into writing posts that I thought were valuable and even, for my readers seemed to be quite valuable. But I just wasn't reaching that much of an audience. It was kind of frustrating. I would write this great post and even spend hours, promoting it on social media, etc. And I just didn't feel like I was getting the results I wanted. And I was just on a brand new domain, a brand new website that didn't have existing traffic, and then I just saw, all these other sites out there that already have really, really large quantities of my audience actively reading their site. So I figured, and based on learning from some other people as well, that if I were to, instead of writing my own site, just write on theirs, I'd be able to get in front of my audience a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you first became interested, how did you go about getting into it? How did you educate yourself on this practice?
There's definitely, I think, a few bloggers that were super helpful. Neil Patel has some good stuff. Yeah. Backlinko is another good one. Those are probably my favorites. Yeah.
Awesome. Now. Mike, when I think about people, when I talk to other content marketers about guest blogging, a lot of them are just confused because they don't know, how to get started, what sites to pick, whom to approach. So how did you find out who even you needed to talk to or to pitch to at these different sites?
Yeah. So, you mean who specifically at the site or which site?
Yeah, I mean whom to contact about pitching your post.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of sites will have a page actually dedicated to soliciting feedback or soliciting contributors or guest posters. So some places it'll be on the header and it'll say something like "Write for us," or maybe it'll be contact us. Other times it's in the footer of the website, just on the front page.
Okay.
I've also tried doing some Google search, like I'll search site name, Write for Us, or site name, guest post, and I'll end up finding a page that describes their process for reaching out. And sometimes they'll give you just a generic email, like, contribute at or editors at. Other times they'll have like a formal contact page.
Okay.
And so I just generally follow their instructions and go through that.
So you're saying that this information, it's not some super secret info. It's just out there for anyone who would like to give it a shot.
Yeah, a lot of sites are definitely interested in having guest posters and contributors. So those sites will definitely make it available and tell you exactly how they'd like you to reach out.
Awesome. So what is your process for submitting a guest post to a particular site?
So after I find the person I need to reach out to, and I know it's a site that I want to, post to, I will just send a very short email, only about 5 sentences long, introducing myself, introducing my topic. And what I actually like to do, what I've seen better results with doing, is actually just sending an entire draft of a post. When I first started, I did a lot more of just pitching ideas or headlines or topics, and because that was what had been recommended to me. But I just started seeing better results when I would just send a full post. And, I'm not exactly sure why that is. Maybe it just gives them the opportunity to actually see my writing and see that I'll be able to, provide some value. But yeah, I do my writing in Google Docs, and so I will just link to the post right in the email, and so they can just view it without downloading or anything like that.
Oh, that's smart. So that way you don't have to worry about spam filters and, downloads and attachments and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So you send them their pitch, and then how do things kind of proceed from there?
It can really range from there, anywhere from, best case scenario, they say, great, we love it, we'll publish it this week or next week, all the way to months of following up and kind of being a bit of a nag to make sure you're still on their radar.
Okay.
Or they might say no, which certainly happens plenty of times, and then it's just on to the next one.
Now, would you submit the same post to multiple places, or do you kind of wait to hear back from one before you move on to the other?
I always try to wait to hear back, because I don't want to get in a situation where two sites commit.
Right.
And then I have to tell the other site, I want to maintain good relationships with all the sites. So, that strategy can result in posts taking a really long time to get published, but over the long term, I think it helps me maintain the relationships with the sites.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have a kind of a go-to list of maybe the 5 or 6 publications that you pitch to?
Yeah, so when I first started, I was just going out to a lot of sites, and I just wanted to sort of test and see what works. So, like a lot of things in marketing and business, you never really know until you try. And so I wanted to test out all these sites, and I've probably been on over a dozen sites at this point. But what I'm in the process of now is sort of coming back around and seeing what the results of these sites were and what was really delivering the best results. And I'd like to sort of more regularly contribute to maybe just a few sites.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you go ahead and write the post, put it in Google Docs, and send it to them. What tips do you have for a successful pitch? Like when you actually email the person with the link to your blog post, how do you craft that email?
It's a very short email. I will often just say about 5 sentences. Would you be interested in so and so topic? For a guest post or a contributor post, I'll introduce myself, saying something like, I'm Mike, I do so-and-so, just a 1-sentence bio. And then I'll say, I wrote a post titled XYZ. It covers 1, 2, 3. Is this a topic you'd be interested in for a guest post? And I just sign off. So, yeah, really just a few sentences, and that's it.
Okay. And what is your timeline? Obviously, you run a business and you have your own content marketing to deal with. Is Guest Blog? Do you have a regular schedule for submitting these posts, or how do you make sure that you keep up with it, that you keep current?
I guess it's a big part of my strategy is guest blogging. So it's kind of always on my radar, and I also blog on my own site. So. I guess I don't have a great answer for how exactly I track it. I guess I've
Okay.
sort of gotten in the habit with it now.
Yeah, it's just part of your regular routine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. And then, Mike, what benefits have you noticed from your guest blogging practice?
Yeah, there's a bunch. I mean, one is that I'd be able to sort of build my brand and reputation, which has helped me sort of climb the ladder to bigger sites, but also to sort of, put the logos on my site, for what that may help with,
Mm-hmm.
and for talking to clients as well. But really, I think there's a lot of really great metrics that has improved. One is just traffic. So when
Mm-hmm.
guest blog on a big site and you link back to yourself, I usually link back to a blog post that's contextually linked back to one of my blog posts. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to get you a bunch of traffic because
Mm-hmm.
people are going to read your post and click through.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's helped me to build my email list, which is another huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's given me some backlinks, and I think this is a big reason why my page rank, I think, grew pretty quickly up to a page rank of 3 once I started doing all this guest blogging.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are the primary things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, terrific. And speaking of those benefits and that SEO, I wanted to take a little bigger picture perspective and mention that probably about this time last year, Google's Matt Cutts did one of his informational videos, and he had some pretty sobering words to share about guest blogging. He says it's gotten out of control, it's gotten too spammy. A lot of the benefits are just no longer there because it's this big spammy universe out there. So, how would you respond to those comments from your experience?
So I think Google's really just gotten smarter with what they're ranking, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
to the benefit of people that are doing content marketing and SEO sort of the right way. So I think they're filtering out really low quality content, stuff
Mm-hmm.
that's basically just words on a page,
Mm-hmm.
to find the stuff that's actually really good and engaging stuff. And they're filtering out. It seems like they're filtering for backlinks that aren't really relevant. So if you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, if I'm writing about marketing and I'm guest blogging on a site about flowers. Google has ways of sort of determining that that's going to be more likely to be spam. So I think
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just getting better at surfacing relevant and high quality stuff. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
producing high quality blog posts on relevant sites,
Right.
it seems to be still be effective.
Right. Yeah, it seems like every Google update is not meant to, hurt those of us who are doing it right. They're just trying to weed out the spammers and make it a better experience for searchers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So I want to turn the tables a little bit because a lot of folks in our audience, we are content marketers, we are bloggers. You mentioned you have your own blog. How should we, if people approach us about writing guest posts, what should we be looking for when we get those proposals?
Guest blogging, I think it works because it's a mutually beneficial partnership. Both the
Mm-hmm.
guest blogger and the site get benefit out of it. And we've talked a bit about the benefit to the writer or the guest blogger, but the benefit to the site is really that they get high quality content that's going to provide value to their audience,
Mm-hmm.
and a longer term benefit in terms of SEO of just having more content and more high quality content on their site.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the number one thing to look for would just be, is this a high quality post that is relevant to the audience of the site?
Mm-hmm.
And some secondary things I think to look for would be, is this person reputable to be, um, talking about this matter? Is this
Mm-hmm.
person somebody that you feel comfortable having their name on your site? And then maybe as an even another secondary benefit is just, is this SEO friendly? Does it contain relevant keywords? But I think the
Mm-hmm.
first one is definitely the biggest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of kind of doing due diligence, looking at the person's site. I get some pitches. The person can't even write a successful email, so it's like, are you kidding? Why would I possibly have you write that? So it's just like, just like any partnership, you want to look into the person's website and make sure that they're going to do a good job for you.
Yeah, 100% on that.
Yeah. So, Mike, you shared a lot of great strategies with us today. What would be your parting words for, let's say, content marketers who've been thinking about guest blogging but haven't dipped their toe in yet, haven't gotten into it yet?
I think you can start small and run an experiment. You don't have to go out to the gigantic sites right away. And I've actually been surprised that I've gotten sometimes better results from writing on sites that are smaller but extremely relevant to my audience and have a large cohort of my target audience. So I think just trying some sites out and seeing what works, and not being afraid to start at a smaller site.
Yeah, great advice. Well, finally, Mike, I would like to ask you to tell our listeners about the guest blogging masterclass.
Sure, yeah. I just published a book covering all this stuff, exactly what I do to get published. It's called Blogging Masterclass. It's available on Amazon, and you can get a free chapter at guestbloggingmasterclass.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, I would recommend that everyone check that out. And if you haven't started looking into guest blogging, to do so, because obviously the benefits are considerable. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Rachel.
All right. Look forward to having you back soon. Many thanks again to our guest Mike Fishbein for chatting with us today about growing your influence through guest blogging. And I know I will be taking him up on some of those tips. Again, that URL for getting a free sample of the book is guestbloggingmasterclass.com. And of course, the book is also available on Amazon. And I think as of today, the Kindle version is only like $2.99. So well worth picking up. Okay, if you have any questions or want to add to the conversation about guest blogging, or if you have some advice of your own that you would like to share, I would love to hear from you, and I will give that contact info at the end of the podcast. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. For today's tip, I want to talk about back to school. Now, it is certainly that time of year here in the States. I know kids in Texas will be heading back to school later this month, later in August. And it's always a happy time for me because I get to see those beautiful displays of school supplies at all the stores and all those nice fresh notebooks and packs of pens and pencils, all that wonderful stuff. But the point I want to make here is that as content marketers, we constantly need to be learning and growing as professionals in our craft. And sometimes the day-to-day routine, I don't want to say grind, but the day-to-day routine kind of forces us to push that to the back burner. Oh, I'll take that course, later when things slow down. Well, of course, things never slow down. So what I challenge you to do today is get in that back to school spirit and ask yourself the question, what do I want to learn? Or what do I want to know more about? What technology do I want to become more proficient at? Whatever it is, whatever area you want to expand your knowledge and your skill set, this is a great time to do it. So the tip today is identify one area where you really want to expand your knowledge, your skill, your expertise. Find the resources you need, whether that's a book or an online course, or maybe just doing some surfing around, and really bone up on that topic, expand your knowledge, and enjoy your own trip back to school. Okay, campers, that is it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. I want to say thanks again to our interview guest, Mike Fishbein. If you like what you've heard today, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has done that. So far, we've gotten some great reviews. For more information about content marketing, you're welcome to visit our website at resonancecontent.com, where you'll also find links to our pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and other social networks. I also invite you to check out our monthly webinar series, which is moving from Wednesday to Thursday, so it will be on the fourth Wednesday of the month. And this month we are planning Secrets for Rocking Your B2B Blog. That will be on Thursday, August 27th, and as soon as we have that registration page available, I will share it with you. As always, I like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from C.S. Lewis. I recently started reading his book, The Screwtape Letters, which I'm thoroughly enjoying, and I have for you today a quote from that book, where C.S. Lewis writes, quote, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point," unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.